Hello, my name is Nicholas Nelson, and this is my discussion on my presentation and reflection about my instructional plan. I like to have my lessons flow. I like them to go pretty seamless together. Everything just kind of fits together and flows very nicely. And this is what I try to do. The introduction to my lesson consumes the first 8 minutes of the period. The anticipatory set flows something like this. I come into the class, I greet the class, I put the problem of the day on the board. The students get 6 to 8 minutes to work out the problem. Then I call on students to come to the board and work the problem. And we work the problem until we have the correct answer. To end my anticipatory set, I say something to the following. I ask the students, so what do you think today's lesson is about? And then they get a chance to respond. And then we just flow right into the middle and then go towards the end. Every lesson has an objective. And my objective for this lesson was, today in class I will learn the valuable life skill of calculating percentages in order to figure out the prices of certain goods on sale, and the goal was 75% accuracy. This lesson was all about percentages. Students are given a real-world lesson with real-world examples of things that they'll have to solve if they want to live on a budget. Part of their special ed transition plan is to, as they move out and become more independent, they need to know how much stuff costs, how to live on a budget, and to live on a budget you have to know about percents. Because when you go to a sale at a store, you need to know how much that ground beef is if it's 40% off. And the problems I asked them were problems like, what is 30% of $50? Or something like this. A company made $40,000 last year, and then this year they made $60,000. So what is the percentage increase they receive? Other questions are like, how is 88% represented as a decimal? Or my last one, 90% of 600 is how much? Those questions are the core of the lesson. The way I present my visuals is to place them on a PowerPoint, and I'll wait and show them at the very end. The PowerPoint helps me to stay on track as the lesson progresses. Now, this lesson is beneficial because it demonstrates and it shows our special ed students how to solve real-world percentage problems. They need to know how much something is going to cost if they see a sign that says clearance and they want to buy a new shirt. And if the shirt is $25, well, 40% off the price of the sticker is something they'll need to know. Also, when they're calculating a percentage, they don't want to get the price wrong because they may or may not have enough money to purchase the item. And nobody likes doing that. This lesson will have a deep impact on their lives because it's an everyday thing. It's an everyday situation to work out a percentage. How much of something is it going to cost me? My sales tax. It plays into the part of independent living. So when it comes to using the lesson assessment as a means to driving future learning, it helps me, the teacher. It'll help me improve quizzes, writing assignments, formal and informal tests, and other assessment methods that are used on a consistent basis in the classroom. Also, it'll help me create more meaningful assignments that will effectively engage the student in their learning process. It'll also provide quicker feedback for both myself and the student. Also, it'll help me to improve the various methods of learning. Do I put the students into teams? Do I put them in small groups? Do you group them in pairs? Or is this something we need to do individually as a solo? So when creating future assessments based off the lessons assessment, here's what comes to mind. Was the assignment, was it meaningful or not? Did they get something out of it? Do I need to change the format of my test or my lesson? Should there be a writing component with this test or with this lesson? So, should corrective instruction and test recovery be an option? Should that be available? Should I provide a study guide for this exam? And in doing so, should they receive a study guide for every exam? So my lesson was covering a special ed transition course and how percentages play an important part in their daily lives. Here are my visuals. This is how my PowerPoint would flow. There's my problem of the day and the topic of my lesson. Okay, here are my instructional resources, materials, and technologies. There's even the link of the site that I was going to use to help with the lesson. Now this starts the middle. This starts the bulk of the lesson. So we start out with a problem that we work together. This one involves an iPad and it getting a discount. This is how to convert a percent into a decimal. They are shown that. And this one I thought was just a little bit funny. Involved George Clooney and gray hair. Students kind of get a kick out of that. And this is a tool how to use cross multiplication to figure out a percent, or basically how many in a small group is the actual number. And then down here are practice problems that the students would do after we've done these problems together. And then for the end, for my closure, I recap the lesson, we go over the day's learning, I tell the students if they have met the objective or not, and then we do a little informal assessment of an exit ticket where I ask them 3 questions and they turn it into the tray by the door. So I look at those and it helps me to decide if I need to reteach the lesson or not. My name is Nicholas Nelson, and this has been an interesting class to have been in. Thank you, Dr. Neal. Thank you, Mr. Chris Collinsworth, for teaching me.